All right, so let's open up Fusion and let's do some introductions here. So this is the standard Fusion interface. Now, a few of you will probably have also pop up. I don't know if it's going to do it for me again. Yeah, if this interface opens up for you first, that's all right. We're just doing part design, or you can just ignore it. Just click it literally anywhere else. The only reason it's asking you this so it sets you up in like and different things like if you wanted to do drawing specifically, or you specifically actually wanted to do like electronics design, you can actually design like circuit boards and things like that in this program as well, electronics, all kinds of stuff. But we're just really focusing on part design, and it's asking you outright if you want to do like any standard sheet metal. We're doing standard, so ignore any of that. And the standard system is metric, millimeters, that sort. So, yep, good. And if you want, you can do the create new, but we're at standard, so whatever. Anyway, so this is the standard interface. Now, one of the things you'll first notice is it is meant to be minimal. The whole point of is with Fusion is, or at least their interface design is one, well, what we just talked about, all that orthographic view and everything. Well, cool. Where's all that? I'm getting to that. But one of the things is it's meant to not be overwhelming. Most programs have all of your tools all around the border, so you have your entire interface accessible at all times, which is excellent if you're well familiarized with it. But if you're new to it, it can be extremely overwhelming. So what Fusion tries to do is hide stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to what you're doing. But the general stuffs is you have all of these variety of tools. You'll see these different tabs here where it says like solid, surface, mesh, sheet metal. You see different tools appear when you click on these. That's exactly the point. There's different sets of tools for these. Now there's many of the same tools, or many of the tools work the same, and there are the same tools in different workspaces. They just work a little differently in some places. But the main things I want to talk about first is things like saving and that sort. So in the upper left-hand corner is your data, and in the upper right-hand corner is your account and things. So just in case you need to do any of that. So what we're going to do is, for one, once you open up this panel, this little grid shape, this little grid cube set here that says show data panel. This is where you can toggle this little drop down between yours and the invite that I just sent out. So you can work on your own much as you like, whatever. But when you're doing any classwork, make sure to work on the BSU 3DM one. Because if you don't, I cannot access any of that stuff, which is fine, except for when it comes down to, hey, I need help with this. Great. I can't find it because I don't have access to it. Make sure you do all the work on here. You can put it into the actual folders. I've already set up a couple of folders for a class for the specific projects. We'll get to those. You can open and close that as you like. It just helps. It takes up a lot of screen space, so you can close that. Yes.
So sorry about that.
What's that?
I sound so sorry. Where was that?
Oh, upper left, very upper left hand. It's okay. Where it says design, this is where we have different tool series. Things like if we're building something to actually like make a virtual rendering, we're not really going to be doing much of that this semester. So the bulk of that, basically the bulk of what we're doing this semester in this block tab underneath is really just going to stay into the design tab. But just know that these are the other areas where you could do completely different types of work. Down below that, into the whole grid space here, this is where your tools are all going to start appearing. Or rather, this is your organizer. At the very top, it's currently unsaved. And pretty much what I tell everybody, the first thing you should do when you start a new project, save, which would be the Control or Command S if you are on Mac, or just the old save icon. You don't have to do that right now, but just tell you in general. So I'm usually titling mine 00 just so it stays at the front or at the top. Intros. And I'll save that. And that will show up in the data panel right here. Now what I should have done is open the actual first folder. Then when I save something, it'll already be in there. But that's the main stuff. Oop, I didn't meant to hit home. That's all the things. But anyway, so that's there. And you can see when I have a project open, when the data panel is open, you'll have a little icon there of the initial of who's using it. that allows you to see who is also viewing your project, but you will also be able to have access to different things as this little drop down with this where it says like V1. And what that means is version one. So where many of you are probably used to saving things like, all right, I need to save my main project. Now I'm going to do an update and I'm going to change something. So version two, version five, so on and so forth. Fusion will stack them all. So let me open an older project that has multiple versions. You can see I have this is older one, multiple projects. But what this allows me to do is I can go back to an earlier version. Oh crap, I don't like what I did with this at all, and open up the earlier saved version. So you don't have to make a whole bunch of saved files for the same project. Now, when would you make separate ones? If you want to make an actually distinctly separate version of or a different project entirely. Like, all right, I like what I'm doing here, but I'm going to make some pretty significant changes. So then, yeah, you would make a different fold or a different file. But for the most part, you're just using that one folder, that one file to work on your one project. If you want to start second ones, that's okay, but you do not have to manually make different versions. You will keep the same one and it will update and you will have access to the backlog of them. Additionally, Fusion is a cloud storage system, so you can access your files from any program or from any computer that has Fusion installed on it. You can just log into that computer. You don't have to install Fusion on your own or a different version. You just access Fusion, open the program, you sign in, and you'll have access to all your stuff. You can only have one instance of Fusion open, though. So if you say you're working here or you're working at home and I forgot my computer or was doing stuff here, you go to the other one and open up Fusion, it will prompt you to close the remote one and open the current one. You can only have one instance of Fusion open at a time. So anyway, once you make a save, you can see now that it's saying, all right, now my project is introductions. There we go, intros. Below that, as you make more things will appear here. You have your document settings. If you want to change back and forth from metric to imperial or anything like that, there you go. You can make some designs. That's a new thing. We won't go over that right now. You can name your views. You'll have an origin point, which is here in the middle, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the more things you build, it will show up. The main things you will see, at least for today, you're going to see a folder appear. There's bodies and a folder appear that will say sketches. Sketches are your 2D. Bodies are your 3D. Bodies, objects, it's kind of interchangeable, but they're called bodies. When we start building them, you'll see them here. Moving kind of around counterclockwise toward the bottom here, the more tools we do and the more things we make, you will see them appear at the bottom. Let me open an older project and you'll see what I mean. Dang it, keep doing that. So this is for the next project of making a round vessel, and we'll talk about different stuff. But as you can see here, newer stuff, you have bodies, and I can expand that folder. I can hide that folder, all the bodies. Open my sketches, and I can access all of the actual sketches I was using, and I can isolate bodies. And no, it never gets old for me to say hide the bodies. I'm a very simple person to make laugh. But you'll have access to all of that stuff. At the bottom here, you have access to the linear timeline of the steps of the tools you have added to the project. And you can click and drag that time slider back and forth. Now, of course, sometimes you have to unhide things, and you can go back step by step through the whole thing. And like we were talking about before, you can step back in time on this and say, actually, before I made that alteration, I want to add something and make an alteration here. And you can splice something in, and because it's all parametric modeling, When it snaps back to current, it will recalculate with all this new information. Very convenient way of working. You can add comments in. We'll deal with that stuff later. Now, so far, we're just looking at an object. How do I like move this thing around? Anything like that? How do I look at different views? Well, one of the first things is now the default setting is isometric viewing. I am looking at this essentially like I'm in perspective, but since it's an engineering version, it's not with like perspective points. It is isometric. How do I change that to orthographic views? Well, for one, you can use the keyboard command Shift. I forget sometimes. Shift 1 or exclamation point. Dang it. And it will snap to your 4 different views. The traditional set of drafting views, your top, front, your side, with the 4th view being the isometric view. What Fusion's default is just the isometric view, and you can move it around. Sometimes some people find this too overwhelming, understandable. Shift back, again, pressing and hold Shift, and then press 1. You can move around this. You have 2 different ways of doing this. And again, highly recommend getting a mouse for this class. You do not need a complicated mouse. You do not need a gaming mouse. A very simple travel mouse, little $10 travel mouse, will do very well for this. It's all you really need. You can make it work with the trackpad. You can make it work with the smart pad, but it gets a little awkward. Yeah, it's not great. So you have 2 options here for moving things around. On the upper right-hand corner, this is your view cube. This relates to the different views. So you can click and drag this little cube around, and it will move around. Or you can click on the view you want, top. You can rotate it. You can use the little clicks here, cycle around, and at any point you can click and drag the thing. One of the other things you have when you mouse over this view cube, see this little house symbol? That will be the home symbol. That will be the home key. When you click that, it snaps back to that kind of perspective isometric view. That's one of your standard ways of moving around. It's probably one of the easiest. The other thing is either with keys or with the mouse. So if you have a mouse, you can use the roller track. So zoom in and out. Press and hold that mouse, and you can pan, which is taking it and just shifting it left or right. Or you press and hold Shift, now press and hold the mouse, you can orbit. If you don't have a mouse, you have the bottom options down here. The first one is orbit. Click that, and now you see your orbit. Your cursor has turned to an orbit symbol. Now I can click and orbit. Hit escape to get out of the tool. The next one is looking, and you can select something and it'll snap to. I don't really use that one very often. You have the little hand symbol, pan, and you can click and drag, and that pans around. Hit escape to get out of the tool. The next ones, you have zoom. Click and drag it up and down, and you can zoom in and out. Escape to get out of it. Like I said, that I personally prefer. It just drives me nuts using the keypad. So I really recommend a mouse. A mouse, cheap one is perfectly fine. Don't need anything complex, but it makes things so much easier. Especially because a lot of tools are accessible only through like the right click of a mouse, and trackpads work, but you often hit the wrong thing. Smart pad on Mac really gets troublesome, or at least I do because I'm not as familiar with Mac. But just know that it does. A mouse makes things so much easier. You have other options here, the display settings, and these are frankly just options. So like the visual style, this is just like different ways of seeing your object. So like shaded just doesn't show it in the hidden lines, so that kind of thing. I prefer to leave mine at the shaded with visible edges only. I can still see the hard lines of the edges, but it doesn't get too visually overwhelming. Environment simply changes the literally how you're seeing everything. You know, if you prefer like the dark theme or anything like that, just if you're working at night, doesn't like scald your eyeballs, that sort. Soft blue. I don't know. I don't know. That one kind of is a bit much for me, but whatever. Uh, oh, right. There is a new setting theme where if you like have your computer set to dark mode, Fusion will automatically now snap to dark mode viewing too.
I got that actually.
There you go. So it's a brand new feature. Probably already has been in use in many other things, but whatever. Anyway, other ones are just presets, environment stuff. Don't have to worry about any of that. Visibility is just kind of just that. Camera is just changing the orthographic, like I said, an orthographic view to a perspective view, and you can see how instead of that like backdrop, that background, that virtual plane actually being a right angle, now it's in a perspective. And because we talked about it, you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. Leave that in isometric view or in orthographic view, because otherwise it just gets real awkward, especially when we're trying to see things in perspective view, things that should align straight directly in line when you're looking at something orthographically suddenly no longer will. So leave it in orthographic view. The other stuff is just camera settings and things like that. That's all. Grid snaps, this just allows you to turn on and off the grid. That virtual grid will expand and contract depending on how large of an object you're building. You're not limited to building something as big as that grid is. It's infinite space. Snaps just allow you to snap objects to that grid, that's all. And then the last one is what we started with, the multi-view option. So you can toggle back and forth either using that or pressing and holding shift and hitting 1.
I looked at it quickly. I thought it said Shift I. Now it's a 1.
Yeah, it's shift exclamation point.
Oh.
Yeah, there.
That makes even more sense.
There we go.
I'm telling you, I'm too tired.
That's how it goes. So that's the basic look around and all that. So what I want to start with, and we will go over the assignment and we'll do a walkthrough, and then we'll kind of break off. Sorry, just trying to toggle views and all of that sort. Now I know I didn't show you everything just yet, and that's the whole point. But give me a second. All right. Where's my? Okay. So the assignment is going to be, we have 2 tiers. If you're more advanced, or if you have it, or if you want feel like trying, great. Otherwise, we're just doing the basic. You're going to design and model your own logo or badge or keychain, frankly, whatever you please. Yes, it will need to have some sort of a keychain feature to it, but we'll get to that in a moment. This can be based off of a design. It does not. We're not worried about, in this case. We're not worried about copyright infringement. You want to make a Go Pats logo? More power to you. You want to say Boo Pats? Cool too. Doesn't matter. You want to make it does not have to be exactly fit to your. If you're using a reference image, it does not have to exactly fit that. You could deviate as you want or as you're able to. Whatever. It's the same thing. It's just however you want. The main thing is we're starting from a sketch, a 2D sketch, and extruding it into a 3-dimensional object, which we'll explain here in a few. Essentially, this is just really based around learning, like, how to navigate Fusion, all that, importing from canvases, sketches, and a few of the other tools. The requirements are, it has to be modeled from sketches. You're allowed to bring in an image if you like. That's up to you. You don't have to. We're going to use Extrude to take that 2-dimensional drawing into a 3-dimensional object. Any of the features must combine into one single body. We'll talk about what I'm talking about, what that means. But essentially, it has to be a one single object because we are going to be 3D printing these. And if it's a bunch of different things just technically stacked against one another, it won't actually work right. Feature-wise, it's going to be a keychain or something to that effect, it does need to actually have a hole from which the keys can be chained to. It could be your own, it could be a found design, it could be a mashup of those, whatever. Size, a maximum of 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, and a max thickness of 5. Now you can make it smaller, but do know that if you make it too small, it cannot print because the print heads are only so small. We'll talk about that later. Advanced version is we're going to take that stamp, or we're going to take that logo, turn it into a stamping tool, and actually make it stamped sheet metal. But we'll talk about that for anybody that is able to or interested in doing that. So that's all well and good. What the hell does any of that mean? Well, let me hop back over to Fusion. There we are. Make sure we got the thing. Let me close this and bring up some examples. Because what we're going to be doing here, any combination, whatever. And just so y'all know, the default color for everything is this kind of gray. So if you see something with different colors, it's just automatically adding color to things. That's all. And heck yeah.
This hits me as a Star Wars fan.
As well it should. So I've started a couple versions. This is BPRD Hellboy symbol. Nice little Star Wars Rebel symbol. Or old Jedi, whatever. But one of the things is, this is all started from sketches, from drawings, and through varying the different heights of extrusion, you can get different details to show up. So let me show you just the sketch, where sketch is, and I'll show you the importance of breaking these up into different ones. But essentially, you're looking at a variety of different elements. We're looking at construction lines. We're looking at layout lines. And you don't quite see it in the center, but inside of this circle would be a center line. Things like that. We have text we can work in, and all of these drawing pieces. These drawings, you do one half, and then let the program do the work and mirror it and do the other half. One of the things I will be repeating throughout the semester, let the program do the work. Basic math is probably all you'll need for most of this stuff, but for the most part, yeah, you can, yes, and there are ways to add in equations to things, so yeah, that is totally a thing. But the idea here is, at any point in time, if you can, let the computer do the work, because that's literally the point of it. It's a tool. We have a variety of different images, sketches, and it's important to break these up into different lines because things can get really complex really easily. So we have simple ones, we have layouts, we have the outside layers, and then broken up into the text as well. Could I have done all of it in one sketch? Yeah, totally. It makes way more sense to organize things by doing different sketches. The other thing, label your sketches, label your bodies, label everything, and it will help you keep organized, especially as we get into things that have more and more sketches, more and more bodies, more and more parts. Oh, crap. Was that in sketch 1 or sketch 32? I don't know exactly. But one of the cool things about Fusion also is that if you're looking at an object on your screen, if you click on it and you look down here on your timeline, you can see it will highlight which tool that is. So that is super helpful for trying to remember, where the hell did I put that thing? All right. So we're going to do a variety of different tools to create, or we're going to use a variety of different tools to create these objects. And I started all of this from a basic drawing, and I'll show you how to do that. But for today, and for right now, I want to just start off with a walkthrough introduction. So if you haven't already, let's start from a basic object here, or from a basic empty file, and I want to walk you through these tools so that way you can actually figure out what I'm doing, and we will build from that. So blank screen, let's start from here. What we're going to do in order to start is we're going to start with a sketch. So go to the upper left-hand toolbar, make sure you're in the solids, all that. this little sketch symbol. One of the great things about Fusion is whenever you mouse over a thing, it will bring a pop-up up, and it will both explain and give you a visual of what that tool is. So as you're learning and just exploring, hover over things, and it'll help out. So when I click this, you are required to choose where you want to start. And as you see, as I mouse over these different planes, it's asking me where I want to start from. We'll talk about this in more detail later, but I'm starting from the XY plane, which is what I'm looking at straight down. We'll talk about those in a minute, but essentially we're broken up into three major axes: X, left and right; Y is front and back; Z is up and down. Expressed by green Z, yellow, red. I swear I'm getting dyslexia. Red X, green Y, blue Z. I want the one between the green and the red line. In other words, my top view. So I'm looking straight down at it. So I want to walk you through a variety of different tools just so we can figure out what we're doing here. So one I want to start with, and you'll see all of these, and your whole toolbar has changed. These are all sketch tools now. So you have the drop down of create, and you have your toolbar of tool symbols that are already there. You can alter all of these. But I want you to first go down to rectangle, and I want you to pick a center rectangle.
Is it underlined? Because
Nope.
I'm looking at a 2-point rectangle.
Yep.
That's all I got. I don't have center rectangle, just 2-point rectangle.
Mouse over where it says rectangle, you see a pop-up come up.
That's what I did, but
That's what
Click on create, there will be a.
oh, because I'm like I moused over this one.
Oh, yeah.
No, okay.
And you can change those symbols around. But I want you to start with that. Start a center point rectangle. And we're going to point it right smack in the middle at the origin point. That's where these axes and planes meet, smack in the middle of your screen. From here, we're going to blow this up, and you can see how I can move this in and out, and it changes everything. I can enter you can enter it manually. You can also enter it numerically. You'll see by default, you see one of the dimensions is highlighted blue. Because I want to make this a max of 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to type in 100, press tab, and if you accidentally click, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Press tab, and it cycles over to the next 100. Hit enter. If you accidentally click before you entered any of that or anything, that's okay, because now I'm going to change that. What you do on these dimension lines, because you know what that looks like now, double click on the symbol, on the number. It changes back over. Now you can change that. Let's say I only wanted to make that 80 by 100 or something like that.
I don't need to go back. I didn't think to do that.
Yep. Your standards, a lot of your standards all apply your hotkeys, Control Z, Control Y, all of that.
Well, I'm using a Mac. But
Command Z, Command Z, Command Y. So that's how you can start basic. All right. What I want to do is I'm going to change this to a construction line. You can see I have my construction lines already showing, highlighting this. I have my going from the corner to corner. I want to make this entire thing just my reference box because I want to make sure I want to make something within this. So I'm going to double click on the outside line, the outline, the square, and I'm going to go over to my toolbox, which one of the main things about Fusion is when it opens a toolbox will appear. Kind of a little tedious, but it's just how it works. The very top one, mouse over, is called construction line. You can click that or just press X on your keyboard, and that changes all of those to a construction line. That's it. I'm going to finish Sketch. That's going to be my reference line. That's going to be my reference point. When you finish Sketch, and I'll open back up just so you can see, I'm just going to the upper right-hand corner here, the little green check. That's it. Finish Sketch. The reason I'm doing that, go over to the drop down, open up the sketches, and I'm going to slow click, meaning like just click, release, so I can just, or you can right click on that where it says sketch and then just rename. What's up?
how did you make it show the construction line?
Double click on the outside, on the outline of the box. and press X on your keyboard.
Alright, so I made the rectangle, now what?
Hang on a second. So I'm just renaming this because I want it to be a reference. Let's name it reference. Pretty straightforward. So what were you asking?
Well, I made the rectangle,
Yep.
but I fell behind because
It's okay.
I was trying to make it.
What are you trying to do?
So we're,
It's okay.
I made the darn thing.
I know. What are you trying to do here?
Well, this is done now.
Okay.
Now what do I do?
So we're making this 100 by 100.
That's what I did. I had to, because I just can choose.
Okay.
So I didn't-
Oh, whatever. So just hit finish sketch now.
Okay.
So all we're doing, the only reason I'm doing that is because I like to keep things organized, and it helps me, and it certainly probably help you.
Okay, how do I name it?
So you can just right click on the sketch. Look up here. See here on the tool where we open up the folder up here that's floating.
Yep. The origin or
Yep.
no sketches.
Yep. And just rename. Or if you just slow click on these, it brings it the same thing. And there you go. So we've started a sketch. That's it. Now, ordinarily, you could build everything on that same sketch. I just wanted to show you the difference between one sketch, and now we're going to start another one. So go back up, create sketch, do the exact same thing in the exact same spot. So I'm looking straight down on it. Now it brings up, I can still see that, but I've now started a second sketch. But the reason I want that there is because now if I build anything, it's inside that, and I'm just going to use that as a reference point to where I always know that, okay, whatever I build, I want it to be a maximum of 100 by 100 millimeters. So now as long as I build something within that box, I'm good to go. All right. So let's start building some stuff. I just wanted to show you all that so you have a good frame of reference. All right. So if you want to make something rounded, cool. Let's start with that. I highly recommend build as often as you can, build directly on the origin point. You can build all over the place, but if you build on the origin point, that is a good reference spot to build from. So let's say I'm going to make this like an emblem, a badge, something like that. Any of the other ones that I made before, like the circles, all of that, logos, whatever. So let's do that. Center point circle, or if you use the drop down to create, go to circle, center point or center diameter circle. And all that means is I start, wherever I start it, I'm building outward from the center. So what I want to do is start right in the middle. And let's say if I want to go all the way to 100, obviously at 100 you get it. But remember, you can always change that. I don't know. Let's make it 85 just for grins. All right. And that's a circle there. Cool. Now I want to build something inside of that. Okay. Best thing you can do with some of this stuff is the two different versions of line, which is my straight lines and arcs, and then fit point spline. Those are your two main line versions, or main line tools. The line tool is a straight line tool. Your fit point spline is making curves based on points. So first, let's grab the line tool. And let's just say somewhere on the top corner here, I'm going to make, I don't know, I guess I'll give it cat ears. So I'm going to click somewhere on the corner there. I'm going to go out, and I can use that reference point. I can use this box here. I can snap along there, straight back down. So I'm just making like a cone of some sort. Cool. So it reconnects. Now, one of the things you'll see how it's blue on the outside? If I had made this short, that doesn't connect, and I can't use it. But if I didn't, I can always drag that down and close that. But I just want to make a little cone there. That's it. So just use the line tool to do that. And again, you can go down to if it's not one of your defaults, go to create, and it's the very first one.
Fine. Okay. Now.
From there, I'm going to make a squiggle on the inside. So I'm going to make a fit point spline.
I don't have the optional make vision. I just can't.
And if it's not one of your defaults, go to create.
I see fit point spline.
Yep. That's what you want. Yeah.
I thought you were saying fixed point line.
That's all right.
Oh my god.
So if it's not one of your defaults already set up top, go down to spline and fit point spline.
That's the one that makes triangles, right? No.
No, that makes curves.
Line makes triangle.
Yep, it's okay.
All right, I'm trying to figure.
So now what I'm going to do down here, I'm going to start somewhere in the bottom left corner, and I'm just going to kind of draw. Now you'll see the whole point of a fit point spline is it starts to make a curve after the second point, because because between 2 points, it's just a straight line. Once you add a third, now it has something to bend against. Essentially, I'm just going to make kind of like a weird smiley face or angry face, whatever. Weird smirky face. Cool. Once I hit enter, you'll see that I've made all of these. You have all of these on the blue line. You have the points that I selected, and you now have these green lines. These are called your handlebar controls. So, like on a bicycle, turn the handlebars and it makes a curve, because that's exactly what this is. I grab that handlebar and it changes the curve. If I drag it further away, it makes the curve bigger. Drag it closer, smooths it out. And you can see as I get it closer in, that handlebar turns into a circle. Just a reference point. If I don't like where my points are, I can click and drag the points themselves. Exactly.
Uh-oh.
So since apparently I'm going to end up making this something of a cat head smiley face, why not? Well, if I'm going to extrude this, I can't just use a simple line. I'm going to need to make a copy of that line to make it further, rather than making a Senka line, because let the computer do the work, because I want to be lazy. So let's try one of the modify tools. If you don't have these as defaults, we have fillet, we have trim, and we have offset. Offset is the one that I want. Offset allows me to select a line and make and drag a copy and offset distance either way. And you'll see the further away you get, the more it distorts. Just like when you're supposed to be paying attention in class and instead you are making concentric doodles, and the further out you got, the more distorted it got. This is exactly what this tool does. This offsets that original line, making duplicates, because essentially what it's doing is each line, where my pen's going, get duplicated simultaneously in all directions perpendicular to that line. A lot more information than you need. But that's essentially what it's doing. So now I have a very slightly nightmarish kind of sort of smile going.
Terrifying looking people.
Excellent. Most of my examples end up turning into pure nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much that.
and you can change this by clicking and dragging at the arrow, or you can enter it numerically. I want to make sure that line is 3 millimeters away for this example. But again, I need this to be a closed line. So I need to close these points. So I'm going to go back to my line tool, zoom in, one to the other, move to the other one side, and now I'm going to click one to the other. That's okay. So something of a squiggle French fry, sure, that's going to become my face. That's going to become a line. And there we go.
How do you do that?
I used the line tool to draw the 2 points together. Okay, my somewhat nightmare cat head has smile-ish. What? Sorry. Yes, that's okay. I didn't mean to say what.
No, you're good. I'm just struggling to find the offset tool.
It's on modify, just to the right.
Whatever you need.
It's okay.
Should I be? Oh, I should still be in the sketch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not finished sketch.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all still in the same sketch.
Oops.
So just to clarify, no, we are all still in the same sketch. We have not changed. We have not finished sketch, anything like that. All right, let's try making an eyeball. This one you can do however you want. You can make a circle, whatever. I'm going to use the Ellipse Tool, which is straight down. I also have it already marked to mine. So let's go to the Ellipse Tool. Somewhere on the left side, about where you think an eyeball should be, we'll have 2 dimensions for this one. Upward, just like drawing a circle. So I don't know, apparently it's going to be about 20. You don't have to choose an actual dimension, somewhere around there. Now I move side to side, and you can see how it changes into an actual ellipse. Sure, why not?
Didn't realize how close the mouth is, quote unquote, eyeball.
It's your shape, it doesn't matter.
Please tell me I don't have to use this as the first keychain. Thank
Nope.
God.
This is just a walkthrough example, just to make sure everybody's kind of getting a good sense of the same tools. All right, there's my kind of sort of eyeball. Let's make it, instead of like dead space, let's make it actually kind of like cartoony or something. All right. So from there, I could do something like, we could do some combining. Something like, maybe if I want to add just a curvature up top. Well, like we talked about before, you can use pre-made tools or shapes and adjust those. So I just made this shape with an ellipse. Let's use another ellipse. I'm going to go down to the bottom. It doesn't even have to be at the very bottom, but you see my cursor as it changes. As I mouse around, the tool is a crosshair with a box around it, but as soon as I go across one of the lines, it changes to an X. That's because it's locking with that sketch and intersecting that. So sure, let's go about to right there. I'll draw upwards some, and then to the side some. That's probably too low down, but whatever. Now the reason I've done that is because all I really want is that intersection there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to modify, and I'm going to use the trim tool, the little scissors, and I'm just going to cut away the rest of that, well, circle as I accidentally made it, ellipse. So I'm just left with that little arc. That's it. Just make it just a little chunk. The point there being that I can modify, or you could use a circle, doesn't matter. The whole point is I can use pre-made shapes and trim them to make more complex things. All right, cool. We've done that. We made kind of an eyeball. And let's see, what else do we need? Well, we definitely need to make some copies. So let's use the mirror tool next. I want to copy these features because I don't want to have to make them more than once. So the mirror tool is, if you're looking up top, the 2 triangles, or create, down in the next section, mirror. This is how you make copies of things. Now the trick is, yep, and as you can see, another toolbox has popped up. You can see it's asking me what objects do I want to mirror, and I need a mirror line. Problem with this is, let's say I want to make a copy of the ear. All right, I'll select the ear. Click 1, 2. That's all I need. When I go to select a mirror line, there's nothing there. Now, technically, you might be able to select the line, axis line. So I'm going to hit cancel, and what I need is a line straight up and down the middle. So I'll go back and use the line tool. Somewhere above, but make sure it's right on the y-axis, the green line, and then somewhere below. Does not matter. I'm going to hit enter. All right, now I've got that line there. But that line will interfere with things. So I'm going to make, just like we did before, I'm going to take that line and either on my sketch toolbox or my keyboard, change it to a construction line. So press X on your keyboard or change it over here, line type. Do not hit finish sketch. But now I have a line that I can mirror against. That's why we use these construction lines as reference points. So now I can go back, use my mirror tool, select my ear triangle, go back to the toolbox, change to select mirror, and select that now construction line that I just made. Bam. Makes a copy on the other side. Hit OK.
Oh, good. So I do the same beyond.
Yep. Now, one of the things I want to bring up is these oddball symbols that have now appeared. These are constraints. If you look on the next section over on the top of your toolbar, you see all of these different symbols. That one is the symbol for symmetry. a center line surrounded by basically a box, but two kind of looks like two parentheses. That's a constraint. You can use these to great effect. We'll use them in a minute, but essentially, all right, I made my little cat ears over here. Well, I kind of made them a little wonky. What if I want to make sure they are exact? There's no triangle tool. So what I can do is one of the tools on here is equal. I already have this other ear as mirrored. So that means anything I do to one side, it will change the other. They are linked. It's a really effective tool. So let's select the equal tool. And on the, doesn't matter if it's the left or right side, meaning whatever ear, but let's say I want one to match the other. Doesn't matter which one. The first one you select is the reference. I want that to mirror that. Now they snap together, and now both lines are the same as the first one. You see the symbol, the little equal symbol there? That is one of the constraints. There's a bunch of these, and we'll go over them in time, but just know that this is how you can affect the tool, affect your drawing to the same degree that you can make certain things match. Essentially, it's the same way that, and I'm just going to draw this off to the side. You don't have to do this. But let's say that I was trying to make a box. We're using the box tools, but let's just say, you know what? Bink, bink, bink. I don't really care. I'm trying to make this a box. Well, that's a pretty god-awful box. But with constraints, I can make this whole thing match. So like one of these is the first symbol. Well, technically it's the second one now, is making something horizontal or vertical. If I select that tool, it'll snap to whatever is closest to, meaning this line is probably going to be close to being horizontal. This line is probably going to be closest to being vertical. You can use constraints to correct your drawings. So if you want, you can draw them dimensionally like we're doing now, or you can just kind of freehand stuff, use constraints to snap things in place. Same thing goes like, all right, I want these to match. Well, I'll go back and use that equal tool. I want, use this my reference. And now the top, if I select, it's going to snap to be equal to the sides. So now it just made a box. Hooray. But I made a pretty janky one to begin with, and using constraints, I snapped it back into dimensional work. So just a way to work. Anyway, back to our nightmare cat. Or we can use, nope, not this home button. Nope, nope, stop. You're going completely the wrong way, computer. Okay, we've got our mirror line. We've got all that kind of stuff. Cool.
Yes. Airline big mirror.
Yep. What wasn't working for you?
Ready, but like I made the mirror line, but I can't get it to create the ear on the side.
Sure. 1 second. Let me pause this. I try not to. Okay. So the other thing is, let's make a little eyeball. Cool. Let's go ahead and use the mirror tool again. I'm gonna copy that one and that one, and if you want, you can even copy all the inside stuffs, whatever. But one of the other things you can do is I want to show you how to select multiple things. So yes, you can click each one of those, but we have two directions of selection. If you click and drag, you can see a box come up. But that's if I click from the left and drag right. If I click from the right and drag left, you see how it's now a yellow box with dotted lines. The difference there is from the left and dragging right, we'll select only what is completely inside of that box. See, it ignored the outer line or anything like that. If I select from the right and move left, it will select everything that box touches. There's also, if you go all the way to the upper right hand, there's a drop down. You have different selection options. You can use the standard, which is window selection, what I just did. You can do freeform, and you can see there's hotkeys for these now, and you can also paint stuff. I usually just use the box one because it's easiest, but especially if you're familiar with like Photoshop, stuff like that, you got like the magic doodadery, whatever. You can select the freeform version. So if we're just trying to like isolate stuff, you can draw around. But that still works left and right. So just so you know, but I usually leave it as just the window selection. So it just makes things a little less tedious if I can just click and drag, even if I start further out. If I click and drag from the left and move right, it will only select what is completely inside of that box. Now when I use my mirror tool, it's already selected. So switch over to, I want to select my mirror line over there. Okay. And I have my incredibly derpy sort of kind of smiley face thing. Cool. Yes, there are more tools. Those are some of the basics: making a rectangle, making a circle, making an ellipse, making a fit point spline, offsetting that fit point spline, connecting things, all of that. We can certainly add more features to this, but for right now, let's go ahead and finish Sketch. We're calling that good. I've made my 2 eyes. I'll show you later how you can make many more eyes, all that kind of thing. But for now, finish Sketch. Okay. And the important part, again, I have my reference lines. So if I want to hide that, that's fine. The whole point there is, and I'm just going to hide the origin as well. The whole point is I have my sketch isolated and I can work from that. At this point, don't forget to save. And what I'm doing here is whenever you hit save, it will bring up a point where you can put a reference if you want. Like, what did I change? Anything like that? And you hit OK. What's that? Yep. Okay, so you haven't started the save yet, so that's okay. So go ahead and don't leave it as untitled. Make sure to title it. No, you already titled. It's all right. You can change it later. What do you mean?
How do I see?
You just did. Or if you hit save, go ahead. Oh, there you go. You canceled it. All right, there you go. Yep. I just change it to your own. There you go. Cool. All right. So we've got that. Now, from here, we're going to extrude a couple of things, and just so you can see how all this works. All right. So I have the whole thing. I'm at a good point. I've made my somewhat unsettling smiley face thingy. / apparently emoji, I just realized. Whatever. Yeah, look, things come to me after the fact. It happens. Anyway, one of the important things is, and I'll just switch back to top view so you can see. I don't know why it keeps rotating. The difference here, outside of the sketch, is white. Anything inside is blue. And if it's not blue, or you can click on it, see how it completely selects the whole thing. If you are getting bleed through or anything like that, or like if it's not getting this little blue highlight inside, that means your sketch is not closed. Is anybody getting that at the moment? Yeah? Okay, that's fine. Let's see what you got. That's all right. Okay. All right. Anyway, wood. That's a different one. Should have this. Let's use our view cube and just switch to the side or something like that. Okay, good. Just making sure that sometimes it's possible to make it at different levels. All right, go back to the front. All right. Okay, 1 second. Let me pause this video here. All right, so before we get to extrude, some people are saying that it's not quite closed. That's okay. We are currently outside of the sketch environment. Do not start a new sketch to try to fix stuff. That is not fixing it. That's starting a new sketch. What you want to do is either expand your sketches, select there, or you see what I've selected this. Everything is selected. The very bottom of my timeline, same thing. Right-click on that and go to Edit Sketch. That brings you back into the sketch environment. You are actually altering your existing sketch. At that point, I highly recommend like zooming in on things, stuff like that. But if you are seeing a section that isn't quite closed, whatever, one of the things that I usually find that will fix that is this does get very tedious, admittedly. Like, where the hell is the break? I can't find it. So let's just use this over here as an example. I'm just going to draw a bit of a line up, and it's super close, but it's not quite closed. An easy way to find the break. One, double click on like a section. You see how it's selected all the way around, but stopped? Versus when I select here, it does go around, but it will often select the rest. In this case, I can see it pretty clearly that there's a break here. Yes, you can click and drag and move this point around, but sometimes that will cause weird distortions. So what you can instead do, broken here, I can see where it is. I can see that there's a break there, or it's difficult to see. Go to Modify and Extend. Select the line that we want to extend. You see how this little red line pops up? Fusion works off of one, what it can see, and it uses any existing line that might intersect an expected trajectory of the line you're trying to extend as a breakpoint. So when I select that, using the extend, bam, now it closes that line. Works really well. Something else we will talk about later. As much as we understandably know that AI will kill us all at some point, one form or another, there is a new tool in Fusion that will allow you to help close sketches, and that is, I believe, the auto constraint. I'm trying to remember because I haven't used it in a while. But it will, yeah, it will allow you to find breaks, things like that. It will automatically close. So we're not going to worry about that right now because it's already a pretty simple tool, or we're using the extend, stuff like that works really well. Is anybody running into the issue that it's no longer doing the blue highlight thing for you? Or you're working on it? Okay, cool. Usually the extend tool will work the best for that. Or unfortunately, just zooming way in and see if you can find the break. So once we're finished, locked in, I've now made my little tinker toy block there. I'm going to focus on our unsettling smiley face. Now I'm just saving here. You don't have to save. I just made those little changes. I don't have to save right now. Just extend.
I should probably get rid of the square that's on it.
No, you don't. That's not going to alter it whatsoever. That is a construction line, and it's not altering it whatsoever. If you find that is bothersome, just hide that box. That's all.
I didn't make it a construction.
Okay, well, that's all right. That's also why we did it on two separate sketches. So if you forgot to change it to construction line, you can hide it. All right, so let's do a quick run through of extruding. Now that we're outside of the sketch environment, extrude is the next tool over. Or under create, that's one of the first ones. And you'll also notice that a lot of these do have hotkeys next to them. So if I want to work more quickly, I can also just press E on the keyboard, and that'll bring up the extrude tool. Extrude, like it says, adds depth to a closed sketch. Now, yes, there is a way to use an open sketch. We'll get to it later. But this takes your sketches and extrudes them out to take a two-dimensional object, make it three-dimensional straight up and down. What's that?
I was fixing it. Where are we?
Extrude. We're going to use the next tool over, or down to create is extrude. So I recommend using the home button to switch to your isometric view, your kind of sort of perspective view. It makes it easier to see what we're about to do here. So from here, what we can do is just start extruding up and down. Now I say that do not extrude the whole thing at once. Let's start with the whole face. Selecting all the inside, which kind of makes an unsettling, not smiley face. Now you can either click and drag, or you can enter that numerically. We want to have a max of about 5 millimeters, so let's not go all the way to 5 for this one. Let's say like 3. Okay? Now, before you hit enter or anything like that, I want you to just look at the toolbox here. You have a variety of options. We're going to leave most of this as it already is. Start the profile plane, meaning right where the sketch already exists. Direction, only going one direction. Extent type is by distance, meaning I'm either clicking and dragging or typing in numerically. That's all, which the distance is 3 millimeters. You can change that later. We'll deal with taper angle later. And operation, making a new body. Cool. Okay. Hit okay. My sketches are gone. It's okay. It just automatically hides from first time. So that just there, hooray, you've made an extrude. One extrude, single extrude. Now, what Fusion does, regardless of how complex your sketch is, it assumes, yep, you're done with that now, right? So if you go back over to what I should have labeled and unhide the little eyeball symbol, brings your sketch back up. There you go. So now I want you to play around with extruding the other things to different heights. So we'll bring up the Extrude tool. You can either go over here, or it's a hotkey. You can press E on the keyboard to bring it back up. Let's try one of the ears. And let's go up, I don't know, 2 millimeters. You'll notice that the next one, because they're all touching, the bottom of the toolbox, the operation now is join. If I don't select join, I'm just going to leave it as new body. Now we have, as I open the bodies section folder, I have two separate bodies, the face and the ear. However, if I had let that select as join, like it wanted to by default, now there's only one body because it has joined those together. Play around with this, try different heights. We'll try the other ear, I don't know, 2.5. Does not matter. All right. As the base over here, let's try for the eyes. I don't know. Well, I'm going to select both of these and go up 2.5. Oh, apparently 3.5. Let's try that instead. So it sticks up slightly higher. So this is where, if you had made separate features, you could very easily start to make those stand out better. If I wanted to, I could leave the little eyeballs undone. So that's just completely open. Or we can go ahead and select those. Let's just try making it just one, so it's at least a solid object. For the mouth, I could do the same. I can go up 5 if I want. Make it stand out. Or we can do less, and I can go back. You can always go back and change those, because now look at the bottom of your time bar, your time slider here, your history bar rather. You have all these different extrudes, and I can go back in, right-click, edit feature, and change that. Let's say I just wanted that to go down a little bit. Okay. Now it's down in. So these are the kind of tools we're going to be using to make all those different levels. If you want to make alterations afterwards, let's say, hey, this was going to be a keychain, you can go back and edit your original sketch. You could start a new sketch, or you could even start a sketch on top of a face. So I could even start a new sketch on top, and let's just draw like a circle over here. Well, that's too big. And I can use Extrude to cut downward. And you see, as I push down into an existing body, it turns red, and the operation changes to cut. Now it has a hole in its cheek. But that's essentially what we're going to get to for making it a keychain. So those are the essential basics. From here, well, we will obviously build on this, but hopefully this gave you a good idea how some of this stuff is going to work, the general workflow. I want you to come up with what you want to work on for next class, and we will get underway with that. So that's pretty much the video. We will discuss a few things here in a few, and we'll go from there.